Hello and welcome to the How to Talk to Girls podcast. This is your host Trip from tripadvice.com. And today we're going to be doing an episode where I'm going to be explaining a little bit of the mindset of a very attractive girl. Now, this is all going to be stemming from something that actually happened with a friend of mine, and I'm going to tell you that story. And we started talking, and it basically brought me to some ideas of how pretty girls act. You know, I'm talking about those very attractive girls that you see and what makes them do the things that they do. And I think when you get an understanding of the mindset of a girl who has been attractive all of her life, you might get a good idea on, well, first of all, how to attract them, but just get a good idea on what they're thinking about and how they're thinking. And I think it's just really interesting. I do. I think it's very interesting, the difference between, an average looking girl and a very pretty girl. Now, again, not saying that either one is better than the other, but there are some differences in the personality, and we're going to be going over those today. And I think it's going to really help in understanding women. And of course, when you understand women, you can get better at dating and get better at the skill of building attraction. So basically the story goes is I have a friend and he doesn't do much dating. He doesn't do much dating at all. I mean, he's probably been on a date in the last, I don't know, one date in the past maybe 3 years. He had a girlfriend before that, and he's decided not to date anymore. Now, the reason is just because he doesn't feel like it. He likes kind of spending time on his own. He doesn't want to deal with dating. He doesn't want to have a girlfriend at the moment, and he is completely content just being on his own. And so there came a problem with this, and the problem was this. He finally got an opportunity to be with a very beautiful girl, because this is a girl that worked at his place. So she worked at his area of work, and she was very flirty with him, and they would do a lot of flirting when they were at work, and it turned into texting, and it turned into a lot of flirty text messages, and this was going on all day long, all the time, for weeks on end. And of course, he was thinking to himself, well, I think she likes me. And her showing all that interest and all that flirtiness got him to start to like her. And of course, it wasn't that hard because she was a really fun, nice, and beautiful girl. And this was an opportunity that he wanted to seize. Even though he wasn't doing any dating, this was an opportunity that he wanted to take advantage of, because how often do you get the chance to flirt with a beautiful girl in the sense that it just lands on your lap? Of course, you could go out right now and you could meet a girl anytime you want, but this opportunity doesn't just land on your lap that often. So he realized, I got to take advantage of this. So what ended up happening was he was trying to pursue her and trying to get her out, and he wasn't really doing it in the best way possible. I always tell guys, if you want to get a girl out, you got to be very firm and you got to follow through, and it's got to be like, hey, this is where we're going, this is the time, this is the location, boom, boom, boom. But he was a little bit, slow to do it. He kind of would mention, like, maybe we should go here. He wouldn't really set an exact time. They sort of would settle on a date, but it didn't really work out. And also, when I say date there, I mean date like as in the time, not like an actual date. So that was also a little bit up in the air. It wasn't really 100% if she liked him, but there was a lot of signs because she was flirting, but there was no real like, hey, let's go on a date. And there was no overt flirting in the sense that they were telling each other that they liked each other, that they had a crush on each other. Like, those things didn't come out. So all this was very up in the air in terms of whether or not she liked him, and it was also up in the air for them to meet up. So what ended up happening was she basically started to flake out and not show up to some of these dates. Now, it wasn't to the point where he would be at the restaurant and she wouldn't show up, but an hour before, a couple hours before, something always came up. So something always came up, and then what ended up happening was she would continue to flirt with him and he would continue to like her, and a lot of mental energy was used up through all these weeks because he was like, I think she likes me, but she'll never meet up. And I'll tell you right now, the secret sauce here to all of this: if a girl doesn't meet up with you, she is not interested. Okay, this is very, very important for you to know this. If she doesn't meet up, she's not interested. Okay, it doesn't matter how much she flirts with you, doesn't matter how much she text messages you, doesn't even matter how much she tells you that she likes you. Words mean nothing, actions are everything. So if a girl won't make time to meet up with you, she's 100% not interested. This is fact. I want you to know this. Okay, so back to this story. Basically, at the end of the day, what ended up happening is she would flake out so much, and finally, he was like, all right, I'm pretty much done. Until she's like, no, 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 no. I really want to meet up. Let's meet up on Sunday. I promise we'll definitely meet up. And he's just kind of like, fine, whatever. And then Sunday rolls around, and you can pretty much guess what happened. She flaked out again. And then in this point, she basically said that she has someone that she's dating, right? So she's been dating someone, or she just started dating someone. We don't know the whole story. Basically, she said the guy she's dating probably wouldn't like it if they hung out. And I'll say this much, at this point, he was actually pretty relieved, and I would be relieved too. Just finally to know exactly what's going on. He can get over it, he can move on, and it won't be a big deal. But there's so many lessons to be learned here, and also really gives you the idea of what's going on inside the mindset of a hot girl like this, okay? Of like, why would she do this? And we'll get to that in a second. But let's talk about some lessons to be learned in this situation. First of all, the reason, the very, very, very core reason why this ended up happening to him was because he has no experience with going out, approaching women, going on a lot of dates, going on even a lot of online dates, even swiping through apps. His experience with women is limited. And so he would have, of course, no idea how to really deal with a situation like this. I mean, if I went in and I coached him, I would have done everything completely different. Now, it's not his fault. I mean, in some ways it is because, again, if he was paying more attention to how to be better at meeting women, then this wouldn't be an issue. But that's not in everyone's interest. I'm sure it's in yours because you're listening to this podcast episode right now. So if it is, well, let me tell you something. Do not do what happened here. First of all, this was never meant to be. She never was ever interested in him. It's another whole podcast, or really all my YouTube videos that you can watch. I can tell you how to get a girl attracted. But with this, she was never attracted to him. It was never going to happen. So he could have saved himself really weeks and weeks of mental frustration by just completely ending it with this girl, by just completely saying, just forget it, never mind. And when I say that, I don't mean literally saying that to her, but in his head saying, forget it, never mind, and just stop trying to hang out with her and stop trying to flirt with her because it wasn't going to happen. He wasn't living in the abundant mindset at all. There was no abundance here. He only had one girl, one very pretty girl, and this is a common situation that I see with so many different guys, is that they have this girl, this one girl that they're obsessed with and they're obsessed over. It's someone that usually lands on their lap. Maybe it's a girl in class, a girl at work, like my friend, a girl that you get introduced to. This one girl that just guys become so obsessed with, and they can't put any energy into any other girl. And the sad thing is I'm not talking about a guy who's obsessed with a girl that he's dating or that he's in a relationship with, or one that broke up with him. I'm talking about that one girl who hasn't even shown any direct interest, but the guy is obsessed with her. And of course, he doesn't live in an abundant reality, so he thinks this is the only girl that he really has a chance with, and he's kind of close with this one. Like he's much closer with this one than any other girl, so he's going to keep on putting tons of energy and tons of effort into it by asking them out, by making sure they can try to get the date, that she might like me because she keeps responding to my text messages, so maybe eventually, possibly, probably, she will end up on a date with me, and then it will happen. But it never happened with him, and I've heard this story so many different times. You're just pining after that one girl. And again, this isn't pathetic. I mean, you could look at him and be like, oh, that guy's pathetic, or this is pathetic. But no, he just doesn't know. He just doesn't have the experience. I would have stopped trying to hang out with this girl after the first or second time that it wasn't working out. Or I would have said something to her like, listen, you're cool. We should hang out. Are you interested or no? I have no problem being blunt like that after a girl flakes a couple of times. Put her right on the spot so she can say, oh, no, I'm actually not interested in that way. I'm dating someone. Or, no, I thought we were just friends. I want to get either the rejection or her being like, no, sorry, yes, I am interested, sorry. You got to put a girl in her place and let her know what's going on. When you're wishy-washy, when you're like, okay, no big deal that you canceled on a date, or what he thought was a date, no problem that you canceled, 3, 4 times in a row and you've been flaky and you can't ever commit to a plan. Girls can commit to plans. They can do it, okay? But they're only going to do it with a guy that they are super, super attracted to. Now, why was this girl doing this? Why was this girl doing this? And this is a conversation I was having with my buddy that I wanted to share with you so you can understand the mindset of a girl who is very pretty and who's grown up all of her life getting a lot of attention. Well, here's the deal, okay? And this is going to explain a lot, especially with Instagram these days and a lot of girls posting selfies and Snapchats and all this stuff. But basically, one of the biggest currencies, and when I say currency, I mean like value, okay? One of the biggest values for a pretty girl is attention. Now, attention is the number one. It's the number one thing. And this goes over even money. I'm talking about anything in her life. The number one priority to her, the number one thing that makes her feel good, the number one piece of value, the number one currency is attention. This is what gets her going. Now, we can't blame these girls. I'm not sitting here trying to, do this harsh rant on, oh, pretty girls, all they want is attention and fuck them and all that. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm really getting at, and this is my theory here, is that a girl who's grown up very pretty all of her life and who has been maybe modeling since she was younger, or she was an actress or whatever she was doing, or she was one of the prettier girls in high school and continued to be pretty all into her college years, into her 20s, and maybe even to her 30s. These girls were getting lots of attention just because they were pretty. Okay? It doesn't matter if they ended up talking to guys or not. Guys would probably start conversations with them. Life is somewhat easier for a girl who's pretty. There's even statistics that people who are more attractive looking or have an easier time getting jobs, and they get attention. And on some level, they do know this. They are aware that they're getting all of this attention. And of course, it feels good. And this is what they're used to. This is what they know. This is how their life works, that they get attention all the time. So imagine you meet a girl who's in her 20s, maybe she's 25, 26, she's beautiful, and she's been getting attention all of her life. A girl like this, if she's not getting attention, if she's not getting the likes on Facebook, the followers on Instagram, the likes on Instagram, all the Snapchat views, and all the guys approaching her, if she doesn't get that, this means that she has lost her value, and therefore people won't, this is what's happening in her mind, okay? That she lost the value, no one's going to pay attention to her anymore, and therefore she won't exist, and therefore it's like she's dead. So when a girl starts losing some of that currency or losing that value or starts becoming not pretty anymore or stops taking care of herself, this almost translates to a death. Okay, now this is really deep psychological stuff. This is what me and my friend were talking about. And no, we weren't high, okay? But we were talking about this, and it makes perfect sense because think about it. They're so used to all this attention. This is what feeds them. It feeds their ego. It keeps them alive. It's everything they know. So the second that it goes away, it's almost like a part of them, or even all of them are actually dying, because if you don't get any attention, then it's almost as if you don't exist. And this becomes super, super painful for a pretty girl. Now, I know this might sound like this is going overboard, and this is kind of like some deep psychological stuff, but think about it. This is what's happening. This is what's happening to those girls, so they need that attention. So what does this have to do with my friend? Well, we basically came to this conclusion that the reason why she was flirting with him, the reason why she was showing attention, and again, pretty overt flirts too, not to the point where she was saying like I like you, but she was taking pictures of like some shampoo in the shower that had his name on it, and she wasn't in the picture. It was just a picture of this shampoo that had his name on it, and she sent it to him. It's like, that's very flirty, very friendly. Okay, now again, I'm not in the situation, so maybe I would have been able to read the whole thing better and still say, no, she's not interested. But for a guy who's not aware of those clues, you're getting that and thinking, wow, this girl is super interested in me. Now, why was she doing it? Why was she doing it? Why do girls do this? Why is she giving him all this attention when at the end of the day she had someone else that she's dating? Well, it's because of attention. Now, mind you, I'm going to play devil's advocate out of myself right now, and it could be that this was a girl that was friends with a guy, right? That girls can want to be friends with guys, and maybe it's not flirting, but it's being just friendly, and she wanted a guy friend. But at the end of the day, let's think about this for a second. Why would she not want to at least hang out with her friend, right? If a girl wants to be friends with a guy, she's going to hang out with him, but she canceled so many times. So I believe that in this specific case, she was looking for attention, and that's what she wanted. And guess what? That's what she got. She got the attention. It feels good to get those text messages. It feels good to have a guy ask you out. I mean, put yourself in her shoes. Wouldn't that be really feel good if a girl was trying to go after you, even though you weren't interested? No, of course. Yeah, of course. It would be really, really intriguing to get all that attention and it'd feel really good. So this is kind of part of what I want to teach you here on this podcast episode is that these girls, they want that attention. Now, it might be tough because you're probably thinking, Trip, well, if I want to approach a girl, if I want to message a girl, then I'm giving her that attention. And that's fine. I'm not saying don't give these girls attention. What I'm saying to you is don't give them attention when they're not doing the thing that you want them to do. And in this case, and in most cases, it's them going on a date with you and meeting up. And the reason why a girl like this is texting you, calling you, even maybe meeting up with you, but not doing anything past that, not getting into any sort of intimate relationship is mainly because of attention and or she is friend zoning you. So you have to keep these things in mind. And I want you to prevent ever having this situation where you're in the friend zone or you're in the, we'll call this, I'm going to coin this term right now, the no meetup zone. This is even worse than the friend zone. It's like a girl who's kind of your friend. You see her sometimes, maybe in a work setting, or you got her number once and you guys are just text buddies, but she won't meet up with you. You need to release these girls from your life. This is bad. This is poison. This is fucking poisonous to have any of these girls around because you don't want her as a friend. You know that. You want this girl to be more, but she is just screwing you around. And guess what? You, as a man, don't have to put up with that. Now, again, this is not shaming girls. This is not, yeah, fuck her, she's a bitch and all that stuff. No, this is just you not spending any more of your mental energy on a girl that's not complying with what you are looking for. So I want you to release these girls. Release them. And we're not saying anything like throw these girls away, throw them to the curb. We respect women. Here at the How to Talk to Girls podcast, you, me, all the listeners, we respect women. So we're not going to throw them away. We're just going to release them. We're going to focus on a new girl that's actually interested in you. So there we go. There's my rant. I was really passionate about talking about this today because, man, it just, it really boils my blood to see how many guys are sticking around in these no zone, no meetup zone type of relationships with these girls. And I really don't want that for you. I want better for you. So hope that helped. Hope that gave you a little idea, a little inspiration at the least to not deal with these types of girls anymore. It gave you a little idea of what's going on in terms of the mindset of a 10 or a hot girl. So I hope that helped. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week on the How to Talk to Girls podcast.